Skip, live from Los Angeles. I just watched my worst nightmare. No, it wasn't a playoff game. It was a season-turning game, maybe a season-saving game that I predicted the Cowboys would win. I upped my prediction from the video I did earlier. I called it 24-20, but then I said, let's make it, I tweeted 27-24, and I'm thinking, I'm pretty much on it. And there's 2 minutes left in the game, and my Dallas Cowboy defense, even after losing, overshown to what looked like a horrible knee injury again. One cost him his entire rookie season. I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden the defense rose and shone. And all of a sudden Micah got a little more untracked, and all of a sudden they started blitzing a little more. Burrow just feasts on the blitz for the most part, but a couple times they got him. And I kept waiting for the dam to break and the sky to fall in on the Cowboys defense, as it always does at home. And it didn't, and it didn't, and it didn't. And the damnedest thing was, as you've known for years, I like Cooper Rush, but it's hard to like him anymore because now it's time for Trey Lance. But the point was, with Cooper Rush turning into a nightmare in the second half, he made 2 good throws for touchdowns, but in general, he just looked lost. I couldn't recognize him anymore. That guy, he was 7-3 as a starting quarterback coming into the game, but that guy back in 22 who outplayed Joe Burrow came up so clutch with a game-winning drive at the end of that game. It was September 18th of 2022, Sunday night football at Jerry World. And I watched Cooper Rush have a QBR of 85 on a scale of 0 to 100. That's really good. I watched Joe Burrow have a QBR of 57 in that game. That's really not very good by his standards. And I watched Cincinnati that night fall to 0-2 because Cooper Rush went clutch. With 57 seconds left, he goes CD, Noah Brown, CD. They ran a play. He kneeled. And all of a sudden, Brett Maher kicked a 50-yard field goal to win it at the buzzer. That was 20-17. So I said, let's go 24-20. Then I upped it. I thought these two defenses are so bad. They've been so bad. Cincinnati's defense is horrible. It was 31st coming into this game in points allowed, and we managed 20. And somehow they managed 27 because of what happened with 2 minutes left. Damnedest thing I've ever seen. I'm sorry, I'm reeling from it because I can't quite wrap my head around it. I was there at Texas Stadium, Thanksgiving 1993, when Leon Lett committed his blunder in the snow. At least it was in the snow. This is in the no snow. But Leon Lett, that was a blocked field goal that he tried to pick up, and disaster struck, and the Miami Dolphins kicked a late field goal to win that game. Jimmy Johnson was out of his mind. I'm out of my mind because the Cowboys had won 2 in a row, and I thought they were about to go down and win their 3rd in a row, and then they were going to go to Carolina and win their 4th in a row, and then they were going to come home and beat Tampa Bay and Baker Mayfield on Sunday Night Football. That'd be 5 in a row, and then they were going to go to Philly and win 6 in a row, and then they're going to beat Washington at home because they just beat Washington at Washington. That would be 7 in a row, and that would get them at 10-7. And I thought that was about to happen. And then I leaped out of my seat and scared my little Maltese Hazel half to death when we blocked the punt with 2 minutes left. And the weird part about it was I immediately had instantaneous mixed emotions because I wanted Turpentine to get a hold of it. I wanted a mishit kick to somehow go to Turpentine because he's the best kick returner in football. and maybe he could get loose for 30 or 40, and all of a sudden we might already be in Brandon Aubrey field goal range. So that's our best weapon on offense. And I thought, I had that quick flash of, I don't really want to block. And the ball pops up in the air, but it was only half blocked. It wasn't a thud block. And the ball bounces, and it, fortunately for Cincinnati, and they're 4-8 coming into this game to our 5-7, so they've had a miserable year too. But the ball bounces up the field and actually turns out to be a pretty decent distance of punt, even though a hand was on it. And then Oruwariye, who I knew vaguely from, this is going way back, I'm going deep in the memory bank here, but my ex-coach at Vanderbilt, school I graduated from, James Franklin, had recruited him. He was a top recruit because he can fly. He's a 4'4" guy at 6'2", 200. And he could play running back and sort of safety cornerback. He's mostly a cornerback. And I thought he was a big prize recruit. And then James Franklin left us high and dry, he thought. At the moment, we're not so dry anymore. But he took Oruwariye with him to Penn State. So that was as close as I came to having him on my team. And then he was a 5th-round pick of Detroit. And he bounced around. He was there for 2 or 3 years. Then he went to the Giants. Then he went to Jacksonville. And then he wound up with the Cowboys. And he was activated back late October 26th. And I don't know, they're beat up. They're banged up. I don't know if it's because Overshown was out. I'm not sure why he was in the game or if he just plays special teams. I don't know. I guess he's just a special teamer, and he lost his mind, and he did the one thing you can't do. You can't muff it. You can't touch it as the receiving team, or all of a sudden it's a live ball again, and Cincinnati recovered at our 40-yard line. We could have had the football at our 40-yard line with, a minute 50-something left in the game, and maybe Cooper Rush in that circumstance could have gone 20-22 again, and hit CD, maybe hit Brandon Cooks, maybe hit CD again. With Brandon Aubrey, you only need one big completion, and we'd be right there on the doorstep of winning the game 23-20. And I'm thinking, well, I predicted 24-20 in my video, and yet it was just mind-blowing that I had to suffer Leon Lett flashback. Leon Lett in the snow. And again, that was a really good team that was going to go on and win a 2nd straight Super Bowl. So the circumstance is very different. But I really convinced myself last night, I thought this team had found itself. And when you have the best kick returner in football, and you have the best kicker in football, and you have the best wide receiver in football, why he only caught 2 balls in the second half, I don't know. Maybe they just locked him down. But Cooper Rush just lost it in the second half. But the defense rose up again and shocked me by hanging in the game. Joe Burrow had 207 yards passing at halftime. And before that last series, when the punt was blocked, he'd only thrown for barely over 100 in the second half. So we cut him in half in the second half. And Leafau got to him on that late blitz. And I'm starting to dance. I'm starting to feel myself because I'm thinking this is exactly what I thought. I was confident all day. I really was. Sometimes I make a prediction and I think, that's just stupid. But this wasn't stupid. I really thought I had this one. I really thought they had it. Micah was missing Parsons' report too much of the night, but he had a couple of nice rushes, and CD had 2 huge plays in the first half and did look like the best receiver in football until Jamar Chase just took over in the second half. I don't know, what numbers did he have? My man Tyler's here, my producer's nearby. I mean, he had some outrageous numbers against, we for the first time all year had all 3 of our cornerbacks back. What do you have? Jamar, where's Jamar Chase? 177, 14. Oh, so he had 14 for 177 yards. Tonight, he was the best receiver in football, but he's catching passes from the best quarterback in football, as I've said for the last 5 years, Joe Burrow. I'm taking your questions in just a moment. I'll react to your comments in just a moment. But we had that game. You know we had that game. And down, down, down into Cowboy infamy history goes Oruwariye. Out of nowhere, some special teamer. And that's the end of that deal. So it's time for Trey Lance. Going to Carolina. I want to see Trey Lance. I don't know what has happened to Cooper Rush. I keep rooting for him, pulling for him, trying to will him into existence, trying to speak him back into existence the way he was in 2022 when he went on that streak and that stretch. He started off in 21 with that big win against Kirk Cousins on a Sunday night. He was so clutch up at Minnesota. He was so clutch against Joe Burrow. He was even clutch against Philadelphia when they got off to a bad start. And then here he came in the second half. It's time for Trey Lance. I know he threw 5 interceptions the last time we saw him in a preseason game, but I loved him before the draft. The Shanahans loved him before the draft. They gave whatever it was, 3 ones and whatever, a third or whatever. Well, they gave 3 ones for him. They bet the ranch on him. They bet the whole future on him. And then their future fell out of the sky in the last pick in the draft from Brock Purdy, and they were able to give him up to Dallas for a 4th-round pick. It's time for Trey Lance. I still like him. He can move. Cooper Rush can't move. Cooper Rush has just lost his confidence. I don't know if his arm's hurt. He's lost some velocity. He didn't have huge velocity, but he used to be so accurate. He's not accurate anymore. I've seen enough. That's it. It's time for Trey Lance at Carolina. And I've seen enough of Mike McCarthy, even though that's 3 straight pretty good games after the disaster that was the Green Bay playoff game at home, the disaster that was the home opener against New Orleans, the disaster that was Baltimore, especially for the first 3 quarters, and the disaster that was Detroit at home. They played pretty well against the Giants on Thanksgiving, and they played very well tonight. But it's time for Mike McCarthy to go. It's time to clear the decks. He's a bump on a sideline log. I saw some creative touches, especially with Turpin tonight. A little with CD, but he's the worst motivator in the history of motivation. He's a boob. We've got to go forward. So the only silver lining for me, the metallic silver lining tonight, is that it's over for Mike McCarthy, and now it's over for Cooper Rush. Get well soon, Dak. I'm not the biggest fan, but he's clearly better than Cooper Rush. I was wrong about that. I was wrong about Dallas winning tonight, but I was close, and they were close, and they did everything in their power to be in position until Oruwariye raised his hands and touched the football. I'm sure he's been told, don't touch the football, and I'm sure he's a good kid. He's 28 now, so he's a good man. But he made a huge mistake, and it cost them the football game. 1st and 10 at the 40. I like my chances with Brandon Aubrey to win the game. Never seen anything quite like that since Leon Lett, and I was there that day. So, Tyler, what do we got? Anything coming up here? All right. This is Philadelphia 94. Okay, we've got Philadelphia 94 who says, I can see why you wouldn't want a block as a Cowboys fan, the one team to mess it up. Yeah, I mean, thank you for that, Philadelphia 94. I assume you're an Eagles fan, but look, I immediately, I've been doing this for a long, long time. Cowboy fan since I was 10 years old, wrote 3 books about the Cowboys. I know what we have. We have one explosive weapon on offense, and they did get the ball in his hands a few times tonight, and that's Turpin. And as soon as I see hand on ball, because I'm praying all through the 2-minute warning that they mishit the kick, and he has some ability to catch it and run with it. And, whoops, sorry, I lost you there for a second. As soon as I saw hand on ball, I'm thinking, I don't know. And at first I thought for a split second it was a backward block where the ball's going to go back behind the punter. Well, then I'll take that because probably something really good is going to come out of that because we might already be in field goal position and just run clock at that point and set up Brandon Aubrey. But the ball, weirdly, wasn't blocked very well. It was a semi-block that went forward and then got a huge bounce forward, and it was bouncing wildly. And I don't want to condemn Oruwariye. I hate this because you're just suddenly thrust on Monday Night Football into this terrible position. I'm not condemning him. I'm sure he's a really decent guy and he's going to have a really long, hard night. But fate tapped him on the shoulder because here comes this wildly bouncing football. It was going so fast, going so forward fast. And you can't touch it because if you touch it and you don't control it, it's a live football, as you well know, on punt returns. And that was it. So I didn't want it blocked. What else do we have? What's next here? Okay. PJ Hoops says, are the Cowboys cursed? You know, that's an interesting question because I do believe we're cursed with Jerry Jones. We are blessed to have him in the beginning, he and Jimmy. They were like Lennon and McCartney. They really worked together, and they should have stayed together, but they couldn't because of credit, egos. Jimmy was so hard on Jerry. I was there. I wrote books about it. And it wasn't going to last. It's a beautiful thing to watch, but I love Barry Switzer. I'm a big fan. And Barry showed Jerry that he could win without Jimmy. And then all of a sudden, that's all for Barry. He's back in Norman on his couch. And Jerry is still there up into his 80s. And he's lost his fastball. He's gone a little Joe Biden. He's Jerry Biden. And that's the curse, is that we have an owner who still insists in his 80s on being the operator of the Dallas Cowboys. He's going to run the draft. The buck stops at his desk. Every big football decision is going to be Jerry Jones. Well, that's a curse to me because I can't vote him out of office. It's not an elected position. I can't end Jerry's career. The only people who could end Jerry's career are his wife, or his two sons, or his daughter. Somebody's got to talk him off the ledge that he lives on, because my whole life, my emotions, my self-worth, unfortunately, is attached to his football team, whether I like it or not. I like wearing this hat. I didn't wear it the first half. And speaking of cursed, I think I brought myself some luck in the second half. I put my cowboy hat back on. I decided to go hatless and jerseyless in the first half. It didn't really work. Got off to a nice start with that 7-0 drive and the pass to CD. And then I put this hat on, and it worked all the way up to Oruwariye. So we were cursed tonight, and we lost to a team that felt way more cursed than us coming into the game because they've lost close game after close game after close game after close game. They have the best quarterback in football with the worst defense, and one of the worst defenses in football, and they had no running game until they ran into us, and they ran it off and down our throat. What else we got, Tyler? This is from Tua Lee. I like that. Why do we keep putting Zeke in after Rico had a good run? Then Zeke goes nowhere and gets 1 yard. Thank you. Thank you, Tua Lee. Brilliant. Agreed. I cringe. I flinch when I see 15 in the game because look, once upon a time, he was something. I made a commercial for my old show at FS1 where I had Zeke's picture on my nightstand as Shannon and I woke up early to try to outdo each other in the commercial. Man, I love me some Zeke those first 3 years. And then he just hit the running back wall right as Jerry paid him. He came back from Cabo in his holdout, and it looked like he was still running in Cabo sand for the rest of that year and the next year and the next year. And Jerry paid him for what he had done, not what he could do. And he's just never been the same. His rushing totals, his yards per game have gone down, down, down every year since his rookie year. I don't think he took care of himself. I think he had some early off the field issues that you're well aware of. And his shelf life was short. And it was spectacular, but it was short. And now I cringe when I see him in the game. And Dowdle took a shot. It was kind of helmet to helmet and probably should have been called. And it shook him, but he didn't go into concussion protocol, obviously. And he came back in, but they had Zeke in for a while. And then when they get short yardage red zone, they think Zeke's still the mauler baller that he used to be, and he's just not. And they put him in, and it's just like he's running in slow motion. He's still running in Cabo sand. I don't get it. I hate to say it, but I think we're getting close to the end of Zeke in the National Football League. What's next? Okay. Trey Lance plus, Ashton Genty. That equals Cowboys going 14-3 next. Now, that is wildly optimistic. That is El Hugo 05. But I do like the sentiment of Genty. I've watched him now twice for full games. Can't wait to watch him in the playoff game. Who do they play? Boise. Who do they play? I just looked this up the other day. Anyway, but I'm excited to see what he does, because that kid Scatterboo at Arizona State is more entertaining to me. But Genty reminds me a little bit of Emmett. I hate to just go Emmett, but he's built like Emmett, although he's actually a little bigger, but he's short and stout. And I think he's faster. Emmett timed 4.6 in the 40. Where's Boise? Okay. Oh, they get a bye. That's right. And they play the winner of SMU and Penn State. Okay, sorry. I hate to say it. I like SMU, covered SMU for many years back in the death penalty days, but I don't think they can win at Penn State. So I think we will see Penn State versus Ashton Genty. And see what he's got, because he gave it to everybody he's played. He gave it to Oregon. He just gives it to everybody. Scatterboo is more exciting just because he runs so furiously, so angrily, with so much emotion and showmanship, that I really enjoyed watching him play for Arizona State, and I will look forward to watching Arizona State. Who do they play, Tyler? Arizona State. They have to play. They don't get any bye. Don't they have a first round against somebody pretty great? Seems like it.
They have a bye, Clemson, Texas.
They have. Oh, because Arizona State, because they won the conference. Okay, and then they play the winner of Clemson, Texas. That's going to be Texas, I'm almost certain. Okay, so we'll see Arizona State. Did they giant kill Texas? I like that team. I like that quarterback. But back to that point, yeah. I mean, he's just what the doctor ordered, except Rico Dowdle's been impressing me. He's pretty good. He's not as good as Ashton is. And Ashton's a local. He's from the Frisco. He's from right around where the Star is. So, yeah, that would get me excited. I don't know about 14-3, but how about 12-5? I'll go 12-5. What else you got, Tyler? Okay, Rudy Santos. That muff punt was just a mistake by a young player. Well, he's 28. What do you expect? Young players aren't ever going to make mistakes because that's just not realistic. Okay, I agree with your sentiment. I'm not creaming him. It was just a brain fart because he got thrust into almost a can't-win situation. And I'm not condemning him. I'm not ridiculing him. I'm not cursing him. I'm cursing the situation because it just devastated me. I'm right now, it's almost surreal to me that I'm speaking about it because it feels like it didn't happen. I will wake up in the morning and my first conscious thought will be that didn't really happen. but it did happen. But I agree with the sentiment. He's 28 years old. He's bounced around. He's a 5th-round draft pick of the Detroit Lions. He was there for, I think, 3 years. He was with the Giants. He's with Jacksonville. Now he's with the Cowboys. He's a journeyman, 28. He's got talent. He ran 4 something before the draft. He was a hot recruit. I thought he was coming to my school, Vanderbilt, went to Penn State with James Franklin. So it was the weirdest play because the ball seemed to pick up steam and momentum off a block punt, which is hard to do. It's almost like the football had a mind of its own, because usually when a punt gets blocked, it's a dying quail. It flutters to a stop, and somehow it kicked forward. I need to go back and look at the replay like 5 times, but somehow it hit on its nose and kicked it forward, and it picked up steam. And isn't he 41? I think he's 41. But Oruwariye is just it just like it found him, and he just flashed on. I guess I gotta catch it, and it was going too fast, and it's an oblong ball, and it's hard to catch it when it's moving like that. That's why onside kicks used to work, because it's just hard to corral a football moving weirdly like that because it's oblong, it's not round. And it just went right through his hands, but he touched it, he muffed it. Good night, Dallas Cowboys. What's next, Tyler? This is a hard question. This is Brian Hutchinson. Who do you want as the next coach of the Cowboys? Well, please drop the Mike McCarthy. Look, it kills me because of 2 things that have happened. I campaigned for Jerry Jones to go get Jim Harbaugh, and you can laugh and say there's no way Jerry Jones was going to give the keys to the kingdom to a personality as dominant as Jim Harbaugh. But look what Jim Harbaugh, he's changed the culture already out here in LA with the Chargers. You see what they're doing. They almost beat, went to the last tricky field goal. I don't know, the Chiefs, that they're going to use up all their 9 lives during the season. They're about to run out of luck in the regular season. Good luck to them in the postseason, but they did. They survived. But you could see in the second half how Jim Harbaugh has changed the mindset, changed the backbone of that team. That team would have folded a year ago and lost by 21, and it hung right in there. And that quarterback jumped up, looked like he was hurt, and he came back and he fought and he fought and he fought. That's all from Jim Harbaugh. He obviously won a national championship at Michigan. I think he's going to win Coach of the Year this year, but that's where Jerry just has to say, here, I give it to you. He tried it with Bill Parcells. But then he brought in Terrell Owens, and Bill Parcells didn't want Terrell Owens and wouldn't even call him his name, called him the player. And it was a disaster, and that was the end of Bill Parcells and Jerry when he brought in Terrell Owens. Well, that's just Jerry, because he wants to be the face of the franchise. He wants to have his radio shows. He wants to be the voice of the team. And then there's Deion. I love Deion. Heart and soul, love him. I know him. I believe in him. He's changed the culture almost overnight at Colorado, and I'm rooting for them. And they have a really good bowl opponent in BYU. I can't wait to watch that. I'm a little surprised. They say that Shadeur and Travis Shiloh are all going to play in the bowl game. That's dangerous to me, but they're going to play for their papa. And I include Travis. Deion's obviously his father figure, but they want to play one more game for that man. And yet that man is committed heart and soul to Colorado. Would I want him as my next Cowboy coach? Sure I would. Sure I would. He's made to coach the Dallas Cowboys, but he has shown you through all of his latest recruiting, he's staying in Boulder. He's shown you he's committed. He keeps saying, my kickstand is down. I'm a college football coach, and I believe him now. I didn't for a while, but Deion is not available. Jim Harbaugh is not available. I don't want Bill Belichick. I still think he was a product of Tom Brady. I can just show you the numbers. We've gone over this 1,000 times. He got exposed without Tom Brady over the last 3 years in New England, and he's 72, and he's exposed. And I don't want him as my Cowboy coach. I just don't like, well, is he better than, please drop the Mike McCarthy? Sure he is. Let's try one more, Tyler. What do you like? Rasta Doc. Yeah. Y'all got away with the face mask on Burrow the play before, so it was karma. Okay. We did. Although, that red zone interception that Cooper Rush threw when CD got rocked by the linebacker, which I thought was borderline penalty. I know it just was an accident, but well, then the ball, it's, what's his name? What's Geno's last name? Who's the safety for, I'll think of it in a second, for the Bengals, but the interceptor.
Hackett.
No. Geno
Stone.
Stone, yeah. Geno Stone, he didn't get his hands underneath the football, and I couldn't believe they didn't review it longer because the nose of the football goes down. He needed the turf to secure the football. He did not have hands underneath the football, so we can go back and forth. But yes, this is about the 5th time I've seen this year on big national TV solo stage games. The refs just miss an obvious glaring rip off the face mask grab. And Burrow got yanked sideways. How many refs are out there? Is it 6? I think there's 6 refs going at one time. And how can everybody miss that? I don't know. But yeah, you can certainly argue it was karma. People say those things even out. I never think they do. But I will give you that was a big swing and miss by every official on the field, and I don't know why. Because it's not like the officials want Dallas to win, because they never do. We'll take one more question before we tune out for the evening. What do you got? Let's try the top one? Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, yeah, that's right. This is from Kevin Page. We'll do 2 quick ones. I'll do Kevin Page, Jamar Chase, best receiver in the league. Well, yeah, he was tonight. What did I say? He had 14 catches for 177 yards. I believe CD is. And CD looked like he was in the first half. And how about that escape where CD took the little flip to the right and then reversed field and got going? He's playing with a banged up shoulder. Nearly killed him when he got tackled and went down. I still love CD, and I'll take him over Jamar Chase, but I can't argue with Jamar Chase right here, right now, off that second half. He and Burrow just play pitch and catch. And by the way, the guy throwing to him is the best quarterback in football, the best. To me, it's getting not even close. Whoever you want to throw up there, Mahomes or Lamar, whoever it is, Josh Allen's having an incredible year, but he can't throw the football. He can't pick you to pieces. You know, Josh Allen has to do it with his legs as well as his arm, and he's got a cannon of an arm. But we will end it with Edis Mucci. Micah looked gassed. Okay. That's actually a deep point. I'm glad you brought that up. He did. And it's disturbing to me that he has to take himself out of games. Is he in peak shape? Back in the day, I used to watch Charles Haley. Couldn't believe he wasn't in the Hall of Fame for so long because he won 5 Super Bowl rings. But there was a time when Charles Haley for the Dallas Cowboys back in the 90s, heck, for the 49ers before that, he was just unblockable. Like he had grown man strength and just savage quickness and escapability. They'd put 2 people on him. He would just blow through both of them and get hands on quarterback. And I don't see Micah do that. And I never saw Charles Haley wave out of a game. I just didn't see it. I mean, it's unthinkable, like unfathomable. And Micah waves out on occasions, and then he looked gassed. Okay, come on, it's what you do. And I get tired of Micah spending so much time on his podcast. If that's what he wants to do, fine. I need him to rush the passer. Too many nights I have to file a missing Parsons report. And he had a couple of good rushes tonight, but he didn't dominate the game. He did not take over until they started blitzing at opportune moments, and it was Leafau who actually got to Burrow in the end on that late blitz that looked like it had turned the game around and forced the, 4th and 27. It was 4th and 27 from the 29 when the punt got blocked. 4th and 27 with 2 minutes to go in the game, score tied at 20. And I just got another little piece of my heart ripped out. And it's going to take me a while to recover. It'll take a year off my life, I'm sure. My wife, Ernestine, is going to yell at me now for taking this all so seriously. She's waiting on me to eat some dinner out here in LA. What time is it now?
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock out here in LA. It's been a long, surreal night. I can't believe that happened, but it did. And so the silver lining, metallic silver lining is it's time for Mike McCarthy to go. It's time for Cooper Rush to go to the bench. And it's time for us to see if Trey Lance has any game. Does he have the poise? We know he's got the talent. I know he's got the legs, and I know he's got the arm, and I know he's got the work ethic. He is a gym rat worker. We need to see him under fire. He threw 5 interceptions in a preseason game. Obviously, that won't work. We need to see if he can keep it together, find himself, find his way, and have a growth game where you start to say, oh, that's what the Shanahans, Kyle and Mike saw in him. That's what I saw in him at North Dakota State. I saw star. Well, he lost his confidence too in San Francisco. He got the hell beat out of him. He had one injury after the other. And now it's time to find out at Carolina next Sunday. I want to see Trey Lance because that's all I have left is Trey Lance. Thank you for watching. Thank you for asking. Thank you for commenting. I'll see you soon.